was a flavorful potluck kind of a weekend. And from early in the day till late at night, a full football palooza from the big matchups with Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes that goes to Buffalo. The Chiefs have lost to the ho-hum featuring Jameis Winston and Derek Carr. Whoop-de-damn-do. But we're going to start out in the Bay Area. The defending NFC champions, the 49ers, playing host to a divisional matchup with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I don't know if you saw this game or not. It was going up against the Bills and the Chiefs, which was a bigger game in the late television window. So maybe you missed it. But in this game, it came down to the very end where when Geno Smith, of all people, Geno Smith had an 80-yard drive. He capped it off with a 13-yard run for the end zone. He scrambled, touchdown Seahawks, and then did the old Steph Curry impersonation as the crowd went to bed. 12 seconds remaining. That's it, 12 seconds remaining. And the Seahawks get their second win in 7 games, which is not good. That is not good, but that's what they did here. They beat the 49ers 20-17. The better story is in the losing locker room. So I ask you, can you explain why Kyle Shanahan's reigning NFC Kings are sitting at 5-5 on the season? So I've got Denominator, Motel 6, and Family Guy. And we will combine all those things together as soon as I hear the bell. Now I've heard the bell. Now we're good to go. All right, so to kick off here, you are what your record says you are, right? That's I heard that years ago. Wise man said that. You are what your record says you are. So the 49ers have been average to bad in all 3 phases of the game for the balance of the season. The defense blows. In this game, they certainly did, even though they only gave up 20 points, but it not converting in key moments, which is the signature of bad defense when you don't make plays in key moments. The special teams are not that good. The offense is not elite. They get penalized at an elite level. They're really good at getting penalized. But Brock Purdy, who played well early in the year, he's on the list here, Brock Purdy, for the offense. Despite having Christian McCaffrey back, Purdy settling for too many field goal attempts, and he's living up to his draft status now. It's an underwhelming performance by Brock Purdy in this game, even though they were in position to win the game. Should not have been that close. Against a weather-beaten Seattle Seahawks defense, missing several key players, or at least players perceived to be key of nature. And the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, one of their starting offensive linemen quit. Couldn't handle the NFL anymore. He quit right before the game. He said, I'm done. I can't play. And he left. He left the team, and they still went out there and won the game. And Brock Purdy in this game had 159 yards passing, which I don't think is good. Is that too hard on Brock Purdy? 159 yards passing, finished with an average of less than 6 yards per attempt, which I also don't think is very good. I don't. Just mediocre numbers, mediocre meadows for Brock Purdy across the board in this game. And was it almost good enough to win? Yeah, it was almost good enough to win. The key word there, almost, right? That's a bit of a weasel word, almost. The 49ers defense, for the balance of the game, they did not give up that many points, but they broke down at the end. So it doesn't matter that they gave up a few points. If you give up an 80-yard drive at the end, it then sullies everything you did prior to that. Geno Smith did not have a passing touchdown, for example, in this game. But starting out from their own 20-yard line, Seattle took 11 plays to go 80 yards and shove it down the throat of the 49ers in 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. See you later. The Niners have now lost 3 divisional games. They have blown fourth-quarter leads in all of them. And they have dropped games earlier this year. The Rams late and the Cardinals as well. And this continues a theme, even in these glory days for the 49ers where they've been to a couple of Super Bowls and lost. The common denominator has been blown leads. Kyle Shanahan is the common denominator. So you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. But either way, it is happening at an alarming rate for the 49ers here. Now, furthermore, we head to the Motor City. We talked about this game a little bit earlier. The Insta Advice Line where Jacksonville played Detroit. Now, you knew the game was going to be lopsided. Because Mac Jones, who every time I watch this guy play, I flash back to the scouting report on Mac Jones before his final season at Alabama, when they said fringe 6th, 7th round prospect, Mac Jones. And then he got into the Nick Saban offense, played with all those blue chip players, and preceded Nick Saban to, with Mac Jones. Mac Jones put up these big numbers and was able to sucker the Patriots to draft him in the first round of the draft. And he can't play. Like, he literally can't play. But because he played at Alabama and he played for Nick Saban and all that, the prior scouting report went out the window, and it's just so bad. But it doesn't matter because the Jacksonville gave up. Jared Goff had 412 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns passing. The Lions emasculated the Jags, if that's even possible, in that 52-6 game. That was not even that close. And what do the eyes tell you? What do the ears tell you about Doug Pederson and his future in Jacksonville? Well, you don't need some blowhard on the radio to tell you this, that is the next job that will open up. We've got 2 jobs open now in the NFL. That will be another opening in the NFL. Leading into the game, there were reports saying that the players were playing for Doug Pederson's job, that game with the Lions would determine whether or not Doug Pederson kept his job. Now, whether that report is accurate or not, it shouldn't matter because this is a Motel 6 situation. The players on the Jacksonville football team have checked out. You do not allow touchdowns on your first 7 possessions of the game if you're trying. I don't care how bad you are. Every one of those players on the Jacksonville football team was good enough to make an NFL roster. Right? Many of them were drafted in the first, second, and third round of the draft. That is a half-hearted, lethargic effort. It reminds me of what I used to see, and we see it still to this day in the NBA, where teams go out and have such a terrible effort, they're trying to get the coach fired. And that's the kind of disconnect that I saw when I flipped over to that Jacksonville-Detroit game. And so now it's up to Shad Khan. As far as we know, Doug Pederson made it back to Jacksonville. Whether or not, by the time I wake up, I do this overnight show, so I sleep during the day. But I'm actually doing an extra show. I'll tell you more about that later here on this Monday. But by the time I wake up, will Doug Pederson be the head coach of the Jacksonville football team? Probably not. I mean, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether it happens today or tomorrow, or Jacksonville's heading into their bye week. So it's more likely than not going to happen here in the next couple of days. Now, the last thing here, a lot of conversation about a dance party that happened in multiple NFL games. You had the Detroit Lions' Zadarius Smith, the Raiders tight end Brock Bowers, and the Tennessee Titans wide receiver Calvin Ridley, among others, who all performed a celebratory dance after scoring or making big plays. The President Trump YMCA dance. They all did it on Sunday. So what does that tell you? All right, so a couple of things. It tells me that they're not worried about the NFL fining them. That's the first thought, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. It also tells me that there's a bit of a culture change here because for years it was verboten. Like any kind of references to support of Donald Trump was a no-no, and you would be shamed in sports. Clearly, that is not the case right now in this moment because athletes all over the NFL, we've seen this in other sports as well, doing they call it like the Trump shimmy, which is the dance routine. And so The reason I love this story, I don't care. We do whatever. I think the dances. I mean, I like the some of the theme dances. I think they're pretty funny. But overall, I like I'm old school. I like the chicken dance. I like the Super Bowl shuffle, like the back in those days. But fine. So if you're into that, great. The NFL though has a PR. It's like a Family Guy situation. A quagmire is what they have, like just from Family Guy, quagmire, because they don't want this, right? For example, the Raiders, who's really good, this tight end Brock Bowers is really good. Like, so good, he's going to be the next great tight end in the NFL. Just wonderful. And he was asked about the dance, and he answered the question. He said he had watched the UFC thing, and that's what inspired him to do it the night before. And so some Raider PR hack interfered, cut down the interview. There are reports that the transcript was scrubbed of Brock Bowers' answer. So that didn't work because the reporters recorded it and said, "What are you doing?" And so they've got to thread a needle. The NFL PR people have to thread a needle. They don't want that being part of the NFL, right? However, I don't think they can suspend everyone. They can fine everyone, but I don't think they can suspend everyone. And John Jones, if you watch the UFC event in Manhattan over the weekend, he celebrated his UFC win by doing the Trump shimmy or the Trump dance. They're pointing at him, who happened to be in attendance. So, the NFL, we'll see if they start fining people. And there'll be demands. You must fine, you must punish. Oh, my God. Who cares?